Welcome to the Wandering Synagogue Part 2. In this episode, we check out Congregation Anshe Knesses Yisrael. It can be very readily translated as the people of the gathering of Israel. We're looking at an artist's conception in the beginning of December of 1912 of what the new synagogue building would look like on the 3400 block of West Douglas Boulevard. Here's a photo of how it actually looked back in the 1990s after it had been, for more than a few decades, converted over into a Baptist church. As planned, it would have 110 feet frontage on Douglas Boulevard and a depth of 111 feet and consist of a basement, 2 floors, and a balcony for the women. It was anticipated to cost over $100,000. The completed synagogue was dedicated in September of 1913 and ended up costing over $250,000. This construction project represented one of the earliest of the Jewish shifting over from the near west side to the Douglas Park area, about a couple miles west. Let's do a little research here on the origins of this congregation. In the late 1800s, droves of Eastern European, specifically Russian and Polish Jews, came to the United States and settled in cities like Chicago. The congregation was started by Abraham Bernstein as its first president in 1875. In fact, around 1880, there was estimated about 10,000 Jews in the city. It had 2 names. It was called Chevra Knesses Israel, as well as the Rosh Hashanah, and it was located at number 40 Clybourne Avenue. In 1887, it moved to a new location, as shown above, at Clinton and Judd Streets. Judd is the same thing as 12th Place, which would have put it about a half a block away from what is now called Roosevelt Road. This street no longer exists in that area. We mentioned that one of its names was also the Rosh Hashanah. As we pointed out in our first episode, many Jews congregated together with their landsmen, or those who came from the same area in Europe that they did. At its time, this was the largest Russian-style Orthodox congregation. Rosh Hashanah would be a Yiddish way of saying Russian. Specifically, they came from the village of Shillel in Russia, and for a while, most of the members were known as Shillelers. The congregation used the building on Douglas Boulevard until the mid-1950s, when the neighborhood changed, as many of the Jews moved either further west or to the north side. Well, that's mostly true, but there are also Jews who moved further south to the South Shore area. In fact, when the congregation sold the building to an organization that would establish a church there, the proceeds they took with them and decided to merge with a brand new congregation in the South Shore area at 75th and Yates. It would now be the Torah Synagogue and Anshe Knesses Yisrael. That building is shown above. By the early 1970s, there had been a Jewish exodus from the South Shore area, mostly moving to the north side and suburbs. The congregation now merged with one on Touhy Avenue in the West Rogers Park area on the far north side of the city, and that synagogue had been called Yeshurun. It had just recently opened. Here is the building that it used for about 40 years or so before it decided to move down the street about 2 blocks west into a larger facility that had once been owned by Ort. That building on Touhy now has a Jerusalem stone facade. It is currently used by a Sephardic congregation. This is the current location of what started out as Congregation Anshe Knesses Yisrael, the Rosh Hashanah, back in 1875. It is still a prominent Orthodox congregation within the Jewish community. Look forward to further episodes of The Wandering Synagogue. See you soon.